Are you prepared to break free from the conventional notions of luxury and wealth? Unlock the secrets to managing and growing family wealth while preserving legacy. Welcome to Beyond Wealth.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Wealth. I have a very special guest with us today, Helda Cobian. She's a house manager and family assistant for over 25 years, along with being a celebrity chef. Today, we're going to explore some strategy and tactics for managing people and process at different scales, along with a few other fun things today. Helda, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Awesome, thank you. So, I'd love to jump in and really start with your background. Could you share a little bit about kind of what inspired you to get into this field, a little bit about your story and journey to today?
Well, it was basically more like an accident. I started out as a nanny. I love children, and I really enjoy, those little things, to teach children, and basically, it helped me out a lot learning English because I'm an immigrant, and so that helped me a lot to understand a lot of the language and culture as well. Um, and then it transitioned into then nanny slash housekeeper, and then housekeeper slash executive housekeeper, and then family assistant, executive housekeeper. So basically wearing like many hats, and that's how I got into management, which I love.
Yeah, and I think something that you mentioned there, I feel like so many stories in our space are by accident, but it sounds like it was a good one and a fortunate one for yourself. So, thinking about maybe now that you've been through all of that and having worn many hats, do you have any advice for people that might be looking to get into the private service and specifically estate management space?
Yes, I will say that don't get intimidated. It can be intimidating for some folks, thinking this is such a big role, being like working for big people. Everybody is different. Clients can be awesome, and they're people like us, and they have likes and dislikes, of course, and they have very refined palates as well, and they have wonderful homes, but they're still human, and they have feelings and they have likes and dislikes, as just say. But yeah, don't get intimidated. Just go for it. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful field, and you're gonna feel very happy and fulfilling at the end of the day.
That's awesome. And I think, in our previous conversations, you've mentioned that you've worked at various estates from very large homes and properties to small homes. And let's kind of stay on that relationship topic as far as, some of the tactics, strategies when it comes to kind of people and process now that you're managing, large teams, small teams. Can you kind of share some of the things that have worked really well for you when it comes to some of the things that you're doing within your homes?
Yes, absolutely. I would say like definitely, and I think many house managers or estate managers agree. Um, it's basically a create a team, having a solid team, having people that is actually teachable. For me, it doesn't really matter how much experience the person have. It's more like how teachable you are because we're always learning. And in this field, I believe like. We have at times where things change and we have to be very adaptable, and so every role can turn into something else. Like for myself, in my experience, i I started out in a company or family, as an executive housekeeper, and then I turned into assisting the family more personally. So it was like a personal assistant, family assistant, but it was like very close to the family, and so it's like it's very important for us to understand that roles can, evolve. We can evolve, and things change. So it's very important to be adaptable.
Are there things that you did as far as like continuing your education that you did like outside of the home, or some key moments that you might have learned from along the way?
Yes, yes. Always, I would say, just to think out of the box. Think how you can serve better, and if you have to prepare yourself for something else, to serve in a different area of the house, a different area for the family, as a personal assistant, or if you think taking an extra curricular class is going to help you, just go for it, do it, because it's going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, and so you're doing all this now and wearing multiple hats, and you're also a celebrity chef. So tell us how do you balance that? Is that like a hobby for you, or is it something that you're doing, professionally alongside of this? How does all of that work in your day to day life?
Well, it happened that at first they, with a wonderful family that I was with for 10 years, they started asking me, can you make this thing, cook something little, a soup or something? So that transitioned into a bigger role later on with other clients. I've been very fortunate to have wonderful clients and cook for them. And again, if you have the opportunity, just go for it. There's nothing to lose. I mean, the worst part you can go through is that they're gonna say, I didn't like it or we didn't like it, and it's okay. It's just uh, another experience that you're gonna have in your history.
No, that's great advice. So I think around like large versus small estates, right? You kind of desire to be at more of a larger operation with a
Yes.
larger team. What draws you to these roles, and are there certain like trends or innovations within estate management, along with like those larger roles that you see that will kind of have a bigger impact on the industry over like the next say 5 years?
Yes. I think being open minded, again, as I said, uh, things evolve, and not only in staff, also in families. Family can grow. Unfortunately, someone can pass away, and you have to be again adaptable, but also trying to maintain the integrity of the home. Basically, try to help around the best way possible, in the sense that you can enter a room and read the room, and you understand how the designer or the family wanted that room to look like. um, and also teach the new staff members to learn how to read a room, how to understand a room. And it's just not decoration. It's not just a vase. It's not just, a piece of art. It's something else. It's for the family, can be very meaningful. So we had to be super sensitive in every single area, in service, cleanness, among staff, keep a place to be a sanctuary for the family, because it's at the end of the day is our home, is our job. It could be, we can manage it as a company, but for them is their home, and it's a sacred place.
Yeah, and I think that experience is something that is, I've seen over the years. It's something that's very difficult to actually standardize across a team, especially when you start getting into multiple properties where you might have a principal that may be traveling from one home to another seasonally or throughout the year. How do you keep up with, making sure that your team's meeting that standard? Let's say at a property that you may not actually physically be present at.
Basically, approaching in every staff member and ask. First of all, I like to be very personal and say, "How you doing? Are you doing
Right.
okay? How are your tasks? Are you on time? Do you think you need help, or you think you got it?" And then I follow to the next step, which is, uh, how do you see this room or this area or the guest house finished by certain time or a certain day, because it's going to be occupied, or the principals are coming back in on this date, and we need everything to be ready to go, and we need to be out of the picture, and have everything ready. Because at the end of the day, they need that peace. They want to go back home and feel like, oh, I'm back home. My things are here. My food is here. My favorite blanket is here. My slippers are on the right place. Or simple things like that, but they're so meaningful to them.
Yeah, you know what I love about that is what you just said is beautiful, right? You're connecting with people at a human level. You have empathy and understanding, and then you're gaining consent to develop a solution together, and then let them own and execute it. And so, that's where you start to have a team that really starts to do great work and wants to be there. Feels, you're creating a very safe environment, something that I think is a very difficult thing to be able to achieve in private service, with just, again, the lack of maybe standardization around, process and human resources. So that's a, kudos to yourself. That's a beautiful thing to be able to achieve with your team. How big is your team, and how many homes do you guys manage right now?
Right now, I'm in a smaller place. In my previous property, it was a larger place, and it was two properties. But right now, I transitioned to something smaller.
Mhm.
I've been here for a year and a half, and I'm very happy. They We are looking probably in the near future to start going to another state and maybe help manage that other property. But right now, we are a very small team, and the family
Mhm.
is very, very private. So it's like just two housekeepers and a team of gardeners. So it's very private, very, very cozy. But
Yep.
the house is not really that small, but family is wonderful. They're so, how can I say, they're very conscious about, our moving around the house and trying to give their privacy.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful, and you can tell right away from how good a principal or a an owner is when it comes to just talking with their staff here. So your happiness, Alda, proves that you probably work for somebody that treats the people very well, and something that you usually want to find and hold on to in this space. And so that's wonderful. Are there any special projects or maybe some experiences that you could share with us that have helped kind of help you get to this point, as far as your mentality and how you're approaching relationship management within your organization?
Yes, I think, well, definitely have things set up, organized on paper, first of all, and touching base with staff members, basically seeing the needs of every area. Right now, in my off season. My principals are away, but they're coming. But we're getting ready for them. So basically, just have everything on paper, on task, fulfilling every sheet like by weekly, daily, weekly, and then monthly. In order to come together at the end of the season and have everything well done, and not only that, I mean, just give every staff member their time, their private time, because they have their PTOs and they need to be with their family as well. So I want everybody to feel like refreshed coming back to work, in September, and feeling like they had a wonderful summer. And not only it was, hard work for the summer, because a lot of people think like the off season is like, oh my God, everybody's like chill and everything. But no, not
Right.
really. It's like a lot of deep cleaning, organizing, you tear everything down and they put it back together. But it's a labor of a team, and or very organized, and seeing all the needs, and basically be so sensitive about principals' needs and staff members' needs as well.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about kind of your relationship across your team, and as you mentioned, like the principal and their experience within the residents while they're on site. How are you managing that relationship, like, proactively? Are there things that you're doing before they're coming to the site that are maybe done in a tactful way, like you're managing your team relationships? Can you share a little bit about kind of your principal relationship and your preparation for them coming, and maybe not just them also, but maybe maybe other family members, other guests, as they're within the season? How are you managing that relationship and staying like ahead of the team to provide the experience that you just shared with us?
Yes. Well, basically, trying to maintain an open communication with principals. Obviously, trying to be respectful of their time. You know, 'cause they can be vacationing or on a beach or having a good time. So, trying to send either way, like a very early email or in the evening when they're already, ready to rest or something, go to bed or something. So, be sensitive. Also, be sensitive about if they're on the other side of the world, and not to send an email, where where they can be woken up or something. Just be aware of the timing. But definitely open communication and ask. I know it's for a lot of people it's very hard to make questions, but it's very important, and they understand our jobs. Um, we're managing their homes, and they can totally understand if we have a question, if we have uh, something that's worrying, or is in the back of our minds. I know they appreciate it for sure. Open
Yeah, and
communication is the key.
yeah, and I think that makes perfect sense. Making sure that you are respectful of wherever they are in the world and the timing of those asks, and knowing and really understanding what's important to them. And I think that's a very important thing to do, right? When you talk about like some of the skills, it seems like your team's already filled out, but what are some of this like the attributes and skills that you've really focused on developing, over your 20 plus year career in this space?
Basically, to be part of a team. I understand that every human being, we all have talents, and we obviously we signed up for our role, but in that role, as an individuals, we also have talent. So what I try to do is, obviously we have a person in a role, but I always ask, what do you like to do? What are you really good at, that you think, I would be very happy if I do this, or if I do that, if I can help with this. Maybe it's a person that likes to bake, like me, that I love to bake. Or a person that says, I love organizing, but I'm only doing the cleaning, I or there's people that say, I don't like doing windows, or I don't like vacuuming, so I try to move things around in a way that every person feels happy, but also, I also challenge them to say, okay, what about if you do this today, and see how you do. So I try to encourage that, and also use their talents in the company's favor. Because at the end of the day, if they're good at something, it can be good for the family as well.
Yeah, I think that's, again, speaking kind of your core of really caring for people. And while people may have ideas about what they like and dislike, it is important to try to challenge them. And, as a manager and leader of teams, it's important that you're helping them on their career path, and they're reaching their goals and achieving new heights. So it sounds like that's something that you really bring into your day to day, and checking in with people. So um, so let's switch gears again here, and let's talk about working with outside vendors and some of the the privacy challenges that you guys have to deal with on a day to day. I can imagine that with a small team, you rely on a lot of other partners to help handle things on the estate. Can you, I guess, would that, what are some of the things that you try to do when it comes to like scheduling, and when it comes to bringing those external team members together with your existing team? Is that something where you guys work together internally, or something that only you kind of manage and head up? Can you just share some of the strategies that you use when it comes to kind of making sure that, again, in this preparation period right now, I can imagine you've got a lot of people coming in and out, and maintaining that privacy, and kind of your role and your team's role in doing that for your principals.
Hmm. Well, again, being sensitive about families' schedule. Families on site, I try to schedule them, schedule any kind of vendors, especially if it's something that really needs to be taken care of. It could be, a leak, or something electrical or AC. And it's important, to take care of those things. So I try to, schedule them when the family's out, when they're, take their lunch out or they go to the private lessons. So in order to not to disturb their private time. But if something doesn't really accommodate the family schedule, I let them know in advance. This is the availability. Ask the vendor which dates are the alternative. And again, communication is very important with vendors, and have good relationship, good networking with them. If something's not working for you, in the management of the house, or a timing, or one of the vendors is not being respectful of their time, or comes in a odd time, and you didn't schedule for that day or for that date, you can definitely, try to find solutions in advance.
Yeah, and so, yeah, right, you have to make sure that there's backup plans and contingency in place. But you just mentioned a couple of things around kind of schedule and budget management when it kind of comes to the things that you're dealing with across not just your internal team, but your external team as well. What are you using what are some of the tools and some of the things that you're doing to best manage your schedule and really time and money when it comes down to it are the two most important things in our world. So how are you managing those things today?
Time and money. Well, I have my petty cash first of all, because that's a
Okay.
lifesaver. Yeah, yeah, having that little box that helps me out with sometimes with unexpected expenses, for the family, or just unexpected vendor that needs to come immediately. Um, but definitely scheduling, having my computer on hand, and having my phone fully charged, and being aware of calendar is very important, to be on your calendar, and put everything on your calendar, and try to be as organized as possible, because a lot of things can happen in one day, and you can lose track like so easily. But it is time sensitive, so just be aware of your calendar.
Yeah, and so like from like a finance, like what are there certain technologies that you're using right now? Like, is it just Outlook? Is it just Excel spreadsheets? Just kind of curious some of the things
Yeah,
you might be using that others may want to know about.
yeah, right now I'm just on Outlook. It's very simple. We're not complicated, as I mentioned, is I'm on a smaller property this time. On a bigger properties, I will definitely encourage Excel, and to be like on point in every single task, because I know it can be very extensive.
Yeah, and so so when we start to think about like your principal and their experience, right? That we also know that when it comes to each principal is different, and you may have strong principles, you may have passive principles, you may have aggressive principles, but I think one thing that they all share in common is that most people just want to know whatever they're looking to know whenever they want to know it, and you kind of have to be that center point to be able to be prepared to answer any question at any time. So, you talk about understanding the relationship from your perspective to them and understanding and having boundaries. How have you found success in kind of having that come the other way back to you and, being able to, have a healthy relationship and have healthy boundaries, especially when you mention things like making sure your staff has PTO. I mean, you're very aware of the people within your organization. So, does that also scale up to you as well when it comes to it, or are you always available? And I just kind of would love to understand how you've seemed to create a perfect little ecosystem for yourself.
Yes. Well, for me, I always, even if I have my PTO, I always tend to have it when they're gone. I work around their schedule, but I always tell them I'm just a phone call, text, or email away. Don't hesitate on contacting me if you have an emergency. I'm a 24/7 person. I'm always like trying to be available, because I think it's especially in this kind of role, you have to have the mentality to be available 24/7, even though they're not going to need you 24/7. But uh, there might be an emergency and you never know. And it's very important to have that disponibility of being available for them, because I know it matters. It matters for them as much as not only respect to the job and being assertive in your task and roles, but also um, being there for them. It matters for them.
Yeah, and I think that the more some of the things that I've seen is be the more proactive that you can be as an estate manager for your principal, and kind of be thinking about the things that are important to them before they have to bring them up, will ultimately serve you well in that kind of professional personal work life balance, if you will. Albeit it's a space that's hard to find that, but yeah, no, I think that you know, just a couple more questions here, Elda. So I'm always curious, like, do you if you had to name like two of your most favorite, well-respected, amazing peers within this world of estate management, who would be the two people that come top of mind to you?
um, oh geez, I would say I have a favorite friend and coworker chef. His name is Kamel Ribal. He's French. He's an amazing person and human being. He's been very kind to me. I learned so much from him, and he's a wonderful chef. He has the best date ever. He tastes his food tastes amazing, like out of this world. And who else I could say? Uh, uh, Let me think. Jared Miles as well. He was my step manager at some point. He's great. I really respect him.
Yeah, thank you. And so then your background also included, being an entrepreneur to a large degree. Were there a couple of key books or classes that you took, that what something that you read or learned along the way that you want to share with the audience?
Um, well, I read what's his name? David Gonzalez's books. He's great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's amazing. He has a great points, and he teaches you a lot about the roles. Um, and I would say just anything that helps you understand the field. I also love. I took Martha Perron's course. She's great. She's a wonderful person. Not only a wonderful teacher, but she's a great person, and she has been also like my mentor. She taught me a lot. Um, yeah, and just push yourself to learn more, and to try to you know to get the grip of things, and understand. If you want to learn, even take plumbing, class or electrical class, just enroll, because it's going to help you tremendously in the long run.
Awesome. And so, lastly, where can people find you online or connect with you to learn more about all the amazing things that we've discussed here today?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn as Helda Cobian or Elda Cobian. I'm on Instagram as My Fairy Cake. Um, what else? Facebook, Helda Cobian.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
those are
So,
my platforms.
yep. So anyone that's looking to connect with Elda, she's on all social platforms, and you'll have links here in the podcast to be able to connect with her as well. Elda, thank you so much for joining us today on Beyond Wealth. It was a pleasure to talk to you. It was really, really exciting to kind of learn kind of the art and science behind how you're managing your team and your principals, and really creating and fostering a very safe and welcoming environment for people to be able to work together. So that was really wonderful to talk to you today about. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for having me and inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. If you found this conversation valuable, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or watch the conversion unfold on our YouTube channel @EstateSpace. We will see you next time on Beyond Wealth.